Hello, sir.
Hello, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you. It's good to see you.
Yeah, nice seeing you as well, man.
Awesome, awesome. So Anna Oyewole is going to be the speaker for today. Anna Oyewole, this is my dear mentor and father
Okay.
in the Lord. We call him Shep as a nickname, but his name is Mr. Yomi Odukoya.
Okay.
It was the speaker last week.
Great. Brilliant. I can see his
I tell you what, I can't wait. I can't wait. This is gonna be good. We looks like you've just got some really good stuff coming up. I can't wait for your stuff because it leads on straight away. And I think if anyone gets all 5 or 6, including the last part, and still doesn't know what to do with their business, I'm not sure what else we're gonna do. Because no, this is a very, very good series. And totally knows. I just didn't get to say no, or I'm thinking about it. It was yes straight away.
Yes. Brilliant. Excellent. Yeah, I have a strong passion for entrepreneurs. So this is right up my street. I've been doing a lot of groundwork for years now in
Yeah.
the young women's space. So I'm going to be
Mhm.
speaking about target markets today, and let people know how we've been able to engage really well with our target market and target audience.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Great stuff. Man, I can't wait. I'm
Thank you.
ready. I'm ready.
Thank
I'm
you.
ready.
Awesome. So let's get started. It's 6 o'clock now. Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of the Building Future Entrepreneur series. We were grateful for you to come back to us. So those of you who are coming for the first time, we'd like to say a very, very big welcome to you. Those of you who are coming back, thank you once again for coming back. So just to give you all, just as a way of introduction, the agenda for today, we're just going to be looking at what we discussed last week, and the speaker for last week is also here with us in the person of Mr. Yomi Odukoya. We'll also be looking at what you should be expecting in the consequent in the next webinar as well. I'll be introducing the speaker to you, and then we'll go right into the presentation. So you'll notice that today I've taken away the Q&A session. So there is still going to be a Q&A session, but it's just going to be interwoven in the main presentation, just as we did it last week. So the speaker will be stopping at intervals to ask, to take some questions. So if you have any questions, like we did last week, we will allow you to ask your question. But as the speaker is going on, please use the Q&A chat box at the bottom of your screen. And I think for some of you, it might be at the top of your screen. So wherever it is on your screen, just look out for the Q&A chat box and start posting your questions, and the speaker and myself will be able to see, and the rest of the panelists as well will be able to see the questions you're asking. And after that, we would conclude for the day. So just as a reiteration, or as to why we are doing this webinar series, the reason is because we are looking to inspire entrepreneurs, people who have entrepreneurial spirit, who have a business idea, or they've identified a solution that they want to exceed, like the first speaker said, and also because we're beginning to see that the supply of jobs is not enough to meet the demand of the amount of university students that are being produced every year. So therefore, we need people who would actually create the jobs for tomorrow. So this is why we are actually doing the webinar series. We are not just creating wonderful webinars that would excite you and so on and so forth, or make you feel, that yes, I've learned something, and so on and so forth. We actually want you to take what we have learned and actually take action as well. And that is why we are saying that at the end of the webinar series, for every willing participant, we would help you, we would work with you to help you to raise the seed capital for your business. So that's our focus. We just don't want you to enjoy the series. We really like the feedback that we have gotten so far. But what is more important is that you take action with what you have learned. So today we'll be talking about identifying and reaching the right audience. So in the first webinar session, where we spoke about identifying and building the right business idea. Then the second one was identifying and building the right team. And there were so many germs that were shared on that day. You know, it was really, really insightful. So I would recommend that. It's one thing for me to reiterate what was shared, but I would recommend that you go to my YouTube channel. So it's my full name, Tolulope Oyewole, and just search for it on YouTube. You'll be able to see the past recording of the last two webinar series. So please go ahead and watch it as well. And Anna's presentation will also be available. Next week, we're going to be having the HOD of my church. She's a wonderful, phenomenal person. Her name is Miss Miriam Shonaya. She's going to be talking about Know Your Numbers. And I'm just going to speak briefly about the ways that we're going to be helping you to raise seed capital. The following week, we're going to be having Shayo Babatunde, who is going to be coming to talk about the compliance and administrative side of it as well. We are working towards getting someone that might be able to come and talk about the privacy side of it, given the GDPR for those who are in the UK or dealing with EU EU client base, and also CCPA for those who are in the US who are dealing with California client base as well. And on the last webinar session, we'll be doing a Q&A session tagged Building a Sustainable Business in Uncertain Times. So we have very, very experienced entrepreneurs, as experienced as those who have been speaking and will be speaking, who will be coming to answer your questions. So start sending your questions from now. So just to quickly introduce our speaker for today, Anna Oyewole. Anna she's not my sister, by the way. We are not related, but I know we have the same last name. We are just connected, you know, through the great work she's been doing. The first time, my first interaction with her was I saw a video on Facebook many years ago, and I was quite amazed at what she was doing. And I reached out to her, and she actually came to do some webinar sessions, some sessions at my church as well. So she's an author, she's an entrepreneur, a fantastic speaker, and the founder of the Young Ladies Club. So YLC is an organization which is engineered to empower young women through mentoring, employability skills, and personal development. So what she's about to present today is right up our street. So without further ado, let me pass it over to Anna to take it up from here. Go ahead, Anna.
Brilliant. I'm just going to share my screen, which everybody should be able to see now.
Yes, we can see it.
Brilliant. So, so my session today is identifying and reaching the right audience and target market. And I think this is very crucial and critical for entrepreneurs today. Because if you're not able to identify your right target market, then you're not able to provide your product or service to your audience or your customer group. So let's really start with the nitty-gritties here, which is, you know, what is an actual target market? So a target market is a specific group of people that you want to reach with your message. A target market is also individuals who are interested in buying your product or your service. And a target market is most likely bound together through similar characteristics, behavior, and demographics. So there's three things that I really outlined here when it comes to your target audience and your market. And number one is to clearly define who your target market is. And number two is the more you understand your target market, the better you can understand how and where to reach them. And don't be afraid of being very specific, because the more details you understand about your target group, the better your marketing efforts. I know some people who are in the marketing sphere and who are always interested in identifying the target market, they actually create a person, a persona. They give the person a name. You know, they go really, really deep, really into deep details about who their audience is, so that they can provide their products and service to that audience. So I've just highlighted a few examples of target markets, as you can see on the presentation slide. And some of the groups are millennials, Gen Z or Gen Z, however you want to phrase it, single dads, single mums, married couples, and obviously for YLC, it's young women. And I'll go into that detail a bit later. So your target market should always be based on research, not just assumptions coming out of your head. Real concrete research in order for you to get real concrete results. So another thing that I want to point out is that people would still most likely buy from you, even if they're not in your target group. And I'll talk more about that with reference to YLC, because we have a very specific age group that we target. But I mean, if women outside of that age group do want to come along to some of our programs, we're not going to, write them off. But it's always good to focus specifically on who your target group is. So one of the ways that you can identify your target customers is through demographics. So first things first, create a very detailed description of your target demographic. Then identify their into. Some people like to use, Gen Zs, millennials, really find out what age group that they belong to. And gender, very, very important. For us, we specifically target young women. Our organization's name is Young Ladies Club. So the writing is on the tin. You know what we're about from the get-go. So gender is very important because men and women's needs actually can be very different. Also, you want to understand their income level, how much disposable income or how much income does your target group actually have, or do they generate? Because that will determine how much they're willing to spend on your product or your service. And also location. Buying habits vary depending on location. So I'm sure you've heard the words location, location, location. So have a really good think about that. And then before I go into asking some questions, I want you to identify target customers based on their psychographics. So we spoke about demographics in the previous slide, and we're now going to talk about psychographics, which it is made up of your customers' personal characteristics. So personality, attitudes, values, interests and hobbies, lifestyles and behaviors. This really helps you break down your target customer group. So if anyone's got any questions at this present stage, before I move on to the next part of the webinar, you can ask any of your questions now. And if not, then I'll proceed to move on.
Hi, it's Yomi. Yes, Yomi Odukoya here.
Yeah.
Would you, between the demographics and the psychographics of your target market, do you prioritize one over the other? So do you go demographics first, then psychographics?
I mean, you can choose either or, but it doesn't really matter which pattern you go in terms of identifying your target audience. You can go for demographics, you can go for psychographics, you can go for psychographics, you can go for demographics. The most important thing is that you scale down as much information as you can about your target audience, your target customers, because that in essence will help you really, really build your products and service to that target group.
Yeah, thanks.
No problem.
Okay, and I think there's a question here.
Yeah.
How does that apply to, so I mean, I'm guessing when he says, how does that apply? He's talking about the demographics and psychographics to the B2B space. The profile sounds like specific individual. So it sounds like as if you're talking about B2C, but how does that apply to B2B?
It's exactly the same. Our organization, Young Ladies Club, works with businesses and clients same way we work with our audience. So we've got the young girls that we provide services to, but we also have corporate clients that are interested in targeting, our girls. Or if you've got a business that you're selling to other businesses, you also have to identify, okay, what is it that corporate company or that organization or that business is actually looking for? What kind of services are they looking for? Who are they? Where do they operate? Exactly the same principles apply. It's just obviously moving from B2C to B2B. So really, and with corporate companies or with businesses, it's actually easier for you to really do your research, because you can go on their websites, you can go on so many different things to find out information about what their interests are and where they're interested in targeting their customer group and providing money to. That's what we did when it came to us selecting businesses that we wanted to work with YLC. So hopefully I've answered that question.
I think that should be fine. So James, do you have a follow-up? If you raise your hand, I can let you speak. Okay, so I don't think so. So let's move ahead. I think that answers the question, Anna. Thanks a lot.
All right. So when identifying your target customers, there's a few things that you need to consider. Number one is determine how your product or service will fit into your target market's lifestyle. How and when will your target market use your product or service? So that's engagement. And what features about your product or service are most appealing to your target market? So you can learn about target market through conducting market research, which is very critical. So there's two types of research. You may have heard of it before, but if not, happy to talk to you about it today in this webinar. Primary research, secondary research. So primary research focuses on focus groups, online surveys, phone interviews, etc. And secondary research is real desk research, looking at public sources, commercial sources. I don't know if any of you have heard of, sources like Intel, and real public sources or sources of information that is available to your area. And I'm just going to talk you through more of that now before I ask some questions. So public sources, we're going to break that down a bit further now. It's, government departments, public libraries. If you live in the UK, I'm sure you've heard of the British Library. Use those resources, very, very powerful. There's the Business IP Centre, which is home to about £5 million of current market reports from leader publishers. Commercial sources is commercial data, which usually involves a cost factor. And this has to do with trade associations or places that you can sign up and subscribe to, but it's got real good information when it comes to the overview of your market. And I can't stress how important market research is when it comes to identifying your customers and really getting your products and services across to them. And then of course, educational institutions, something that is highly overlooked by individuals, but still very, very powerful. It's data that is left untapped research that has been conducted by college, universities and technical institutions, which is fabulous. You should use it. I've used the Institute of Directors, and they also provided me with loads of research. That's also a top extra tip there. So if anyone's got questions about market research, I'm happy to take it now. Or if you want me to go further, I'm also happy to move further along. Okay. So there's about 3,500 trade associations and forums in the UK. So there's loads, there's a whole plethora of information out there for you to actually, use when it comes to your business and targeting your audience. So these are just a few examples: British Chambers of Commerce, the British Retail Consortium, the British Shops and Stores Association, the Federation of Small Businesses, the Forum of Private Business, Interactive Media and Retail Group. I mean, there's a whole plethora of different trade associations available that you can actually get your research to. A lot of them you have to sign up, you have to subscribe, but I mean, for a small amount of money that can have a huge impact on your business or your service, I mean, you can't go wrong. So just before I go into any details about Young Ladies Clubs, I'm sure you're all eager and interested to know, how did, YLC come about, and how did we use research, and how did we gain such a amazing target market and target audience that have engaged with us over a number of years. I'll be happy to take some questions now, if anyone has any. If you don't, then I'm happy to proceed. Okay, so for those who don't know, Young Ladies Club, as Tolly rightly said, is an organization, and we provide mentoring, employability skill service, and also personal development. Now, when I started the organization, it was some time ago. So all this digital stuff that's flying around, it wasn't as advanced then, but it's good because now you all have an opportunity to do research from the comfort of your own home and really find out and engage with your target group online, which is brilliant. So we conducted primary and secondary research. My base at the time was obviously educational institutions because I was at university when I came up with the idea. So we actually was around our target audience. Funnily enough, I actually was the target audience, the target market for my own business that I was trying to start up. And there are a lot of founders who actually are their own customer when starting their own company. So they actually know what their customer group wants. So I think it was kind of easy for me because I was a young Black female that fell into the BME or BAME sort of group that was looking for a service for young females like myself. You know, I wanted to learn about enterprise. I wanted to learn about personal development. I was looking for a service that provided that, but I couldn't really see it. So I decided to set up the organization and use my skills and my knowledge in order to really provide the service that we offer now. So I guess I was kind of lucky in a way that I was my perfect sort of customer. We also did a lot of research and asked a lot of questions at trade fairs. We did local communities, we did social media, we also did desk research as well. So I remember we actually did a lot of questionnaires. We actually asked a lot of young females at university that sort of fit our age group, you know, questions about, do you feel like there's a service that helps, you know, young females? And a lot of them said no. So we really went off that research and we hit the ground running. We started immediately providing those services, and it literally just took off. So does anyone have any questions about YLC, how we conducted that research, some of the stuff that we learned? Okay, brilliant. So another way that you can identify your target market or audience isn't only just doing the primary and secondary research in terms of looking for them. Some of you may have already engaged with your target market or your audience, which is brilliant. So analyze your current customers. What is it that they like about your product or your service? How do they engage with your product and service? Again, look at their demographics and their psychographics. I'm pretty sure you'd see a trend with your current customers. So don't ignore that. All those signs, all those clues are definitely valuable. So again, going over demographics and psychographics, look at your current customers' behavior, their lifestyle, their income, their age, and their interests. Very, very important when you're targeting your market or your potential audience. So for those of you who may engage with your current customers, another tip is to look at your social media analytics. Very, very important. Obviously, I'm not only just the founder of YLC, which is an organization for females, but I also have my Hannah Oyewole brand, which is speaking, author, and loads of other things. So I noticed that with the YLC, looking at analytics in terms of Instagram, obviously, as you can imagine, the predominant number that follows us is women, of course. But when it comes to the Hannah Oyewole brand, I have a really good, clean 50-50 split between male and female. So the branding, the colors that I use, I don't, you know, with YLC, we may use a lot of, you know, subtle sort of softer colors when it comes to the women. When it comes to myself, I use a lot of red, I use a lot of orange, I use different variation of colors to try and attract both the male and the female group with the Hannah Oyewole brand. So you can look at your Instagram analytics currently, look at your Facebook analytics, look at your Twitter analytics, look at your YouTube analytics. That really, really is good, solid information to point you in the right direction in terms of your target audience and customers. So I'm going to pause there for a moment. Does anyone have any questions for me with regards to anything that I've just spoken about before I move on to the next part of the webinar? Okay. Okay, brilliant. So again, looking at social media analytics, you know, fill in the gaps, really look at your customer analysis, find out who currently interacts with you on social media accounts. Again, look at Facebook insights, Twitter insights, and Instagram insights. So we're about to move into another area, which is competition. Ooh. It's a word that some people like, it's a word that some people don't like, but you can't ignore it. You will have competition. And if you're fortunate enough not to have competition, then when you do develop the product or service, you will find that there will be competition. So you have to prepare for that when it comes to targeting your audience and your market. So currently, look at who your competitors are when you're doing your research. Who do they engage with? You know, what are your competitors doing? Are they targeting the same market? Are they reaching a segment of the market that you've not considered? How are they positioning themselves? All of these things are really, really critical and vital when it comes to your identifying your target market and audience. And also do some competitive research. So the first thing that I've highlighted is choose 5 competitors to focus on, or if it's less, if you have an untapped market, then choose 3. Really find out, you know, what is it that they're doing? How are they engaging? There's so much that you can learn. Your competition is not your enemy. There's a lot that you can learn from competitive research, and identify your competitors that fit your target niche. Gather information, which social networks do they use, what's their following, etc. And then, of course, conduct a SWOT analysis. So before I move on to talking about SWOT analysis, does anyone have any questions with regards to what I've just spoken about, with regards to competition and competitive research?
Hi, it's Yomi here.
Yes.
Just a quick one on competitive research.
Yeah.
Now, it's kind of unlikely that you'll get someone who's doing exactly what you're doing, you know, word for word, strike for strike. So it might be that your competitors are somewhat of a combination of 2 or 3 people could be competing with you in the same space. How do you work that out? If you know you don't have an absolute like-for-like competitor, how do you work out then who your competition is?
Well, you have to kind of look for even if it's just some similarities. Of course, you're not going to have a competitor that's exactly the same as yours. But I mean, if it's YLC and we're targeting young females between the ages of 16 to 25 or 16 to 30, it's you know, I'm sure I'm going to find another sort of female-led organization that would target females in sort of that area as well, whether it's them working predominantly with Black females or with white females, or it doesn't really matter sort of, you know, what females they're working with. As long as it's females, then I should be interested in terms of what it is that they're doing and their competitive you know, analysis and how they're targeting those customers as well. So yeah, you're not going to find anyone that's exactly the same. I definitely agree with that point. But when it comes to markets, it's highly unlikely that you just find, you know, one person in that market. Even if we look at mobile phone providers, you know, we have Apple, we have Samsung. You know, they are, you know, they're not the same, but they are kind of competitors. If you look at it, oh, do you use an Android? Do you use, you know, an iPhone? Do you use an Apple? You know, there's always that conversation and debate. So you've always got to find ways to analyze what your competition is doing, not copy, of course, but gather some information, because it will really help you identify, you know, your target audience and really whittle down the information that you're looking for with regards to your target audience and target market as well. So it's a good thing. It's a really good thing. Brilliant. So I just spoke about SWOT analysis. Some of you may have seen that at the end. Conduct a SWOT analysis. Very, very good. And just off the topic of competition, it's really about yourself. You really, really focus on yourself as the organization. Don't get too, you know, muddled up with what others are doing. Really focus on yourself. And that's what a SWOT analysis allows you to do. It allows you to focus on your strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities and threats of your organization. So once you've gathered the data, analyze in a way you understand where you stand against your competition. So a SWOT analysis tool helps you to look hard at your business. That's the purpose of a SWOT analysis. It helps you to analyze things that you're doing right, things that you're doing wrong, or things that you could improve. So like I just said, SWOT analysis, for those of you who may not be aware or may not know, stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So we've conducted a SWOT analysis in our business. Usually when you do your business plans, especially when you go down to the marketing sort of area of business plans, you always see SWOT analysis or pastel analysis, or things for you to really analyze where you stand against competition, where you are in the market, and how to target your market effectively. So does anyone have any questions with regards to SWOT analysis, or should I just move along? Okay, I'll move along. So just going off the back of social media, you know, there are a lot of analytical tools that you can use to help you in your journey of really identifying your target audience and your target market. So some of you may have heard of some of them, or you may not have, but I'm here to help you today. So BuzzSumo helps you find competitors with the most shared content. So you can really have a look at BuzzSumo. You can sort of research it now whilst you're online. There's also Hootsuite Streams, which I really like. I actually use Hootsuite when it comes to, you know, preparing my content ahead of time. But you can also use it to track keywords, competitors, and also hashtags. And then we also have BrandWatch, which helps you measure how much people talk about your brand online. So all these social media digital tools, these analytical tools, are actually really good in this day and age to help you really dig deeper into your market and find out how to actually target them more effectively. So I just want to talk about a really important subject when it comes to understanding and identifying your target audience and market. And it's a subject of value. This cannot be overlooked. You have to be really clear about the value of your product and your service. You have to be really clear about the features versus the benefits. Features are what your product or service does, and benefits are the results. Very important. And when I was, you know, when we were providing our services, particularly our events and programs to young females, we really wanted to offer as much value as possible, because that's what keeps your customers and your audience coming back. So that's really important. Does anyone have any questions with regards to value or features and benefits of a product or service? Okay, I'll move on. So really explain the benefits of your product or service. You know, but we're still on the topic of value. You know, find out, how does your product or service make someone's life easier or better? And how does your product or service make someone's life interesting? So obviously with YLC providing programs and workshops, an opportunity for young females to really network and connect with one another, learn about how to set up their own enterprises, you know, develop their goals, their employability skills, providing them with job opportunities. I mean, that's absolute value. And that is actually how we have made a lot of young females' lives better. We've made it easier. We've made it more interesting for them. So we've provided a need to our target audience and our market. So that's just an example of how we've done it in our organization. So I just thought I'll give just a quick, you know, example again of IKEA. And IKEA had an ad promoting university essentials. And they used really key words there: settling smoothly, benefit, little essentials, benefit, meet your new uni mates, benefit. So they really intertwined the whole university experience alongside selling their items, you know, cookware and tableware, you know, little essentials, really making that university move that is somewhat always stressful for students very seamless. So that's just an example of how sort of a huge organization has used sort of those keywords to really sell their products and services to their target market and audience. Does anybody have any questions about that? Brilliant. So another thing that you can do when it comes to identifying your target market and audience is to create a target market statement. Very critical. So boil everything down to a target market statement. A target market statement helps you to define your target market. And an example target statement is from Zipcar. I don't know how many of you know about Zipcar, but you know, things are really changing in the world today, in the sense where, I mean, I don't know if cars will still be existent in London, more so, but a lot of people are in the business of, you know, hiring out cars and doing a lot of car sharing. So Zipcar, I'm going to go through their target market statement now, but it's a brilliant, brilliant example of an organization that really was able to capture their target market, identify them, and sell their service. So it's just a Zipcar logo there, just for those who are not familiar. So Zipcar's target market statement is to urban, dwelling, educated, techno-savvy consumers who worry about the environment that future generations will inherit. Zipcar is the car sharing service that lets you save money, buzzword, and reduce your carbon footprint, making you feel you've made a smart, responsible choice that demonstrates your commitment to protecting the environment. So I just want to open up to the audience and ask you, what kind of target market, or who do you think Zipcar's target market is? Who do you think that they're trying to target with that target market statement? Just want to open it up to the floor.
Hi guys, so just to interject there, so if you want to respond to Anna's question quickly, if you can just use the raise your hand option, and then I'll allow you to speak. Or you can just send a chat, and then I can read it out for you quickly.
So who do you think Zipcar's target market is, just by reading through their statement? So I'll say the statement again. To urban dwelling, educated, techno-savvy consumers who worry about the environment that future generations will inherit, Zipcar is a car sharing service that lets you save money and reduce your carbon footprint, making you feel you've made a smart, responsible choice that demonstrates your commitment to protecting the environment. What kind of customers do you think Zipcar's, Zipcar appeals to? Any volunteers?
So I think I've got someone raising their hands. Adefunke, go ahead and speak.
So I think maybe vegans, environmentalists,
Yes.
people like that.
Yes. Why do you say that? What makes you say that, Adefunke?
So it's due to obviously they're trying to, tell us that the environment will be better.
Yes.
So vegans, obviously, they're,
Yes.
they love the environment, stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Anybody else?
So James here is saying millennials and Gen Z,
Brilliant.
City, big in the cities, and so on and so forth.
Wonderful. Anybody else?
People who don't own cars.
People who, sorry, I can't. People who
don't have cars.
Okay, interesting. Brilliant. Yes. Anyone else? Okay. So yes, Adefunke, James, and just the last person, I didn't get your name. People who don't have cars, or people who, who care about the environment, people who are techno savvy, millennials, all those people who are in, in this generation, so to speak, that are really adamant in making a change for the next generation, definitely. So this is just the power of creating a target market statement for your business, because what it does is it really helps you gain clarity about exactly who you're identifying. And obviously, if you have this statement, out there, or if you're pitching to investors, they will know exactly who it is that you're after, based obviously on your research. But this is just how a target market statement can actually help your business. So just to clarify, Zipcar are not targeting all residents. So that's really important, of a particular city. They are specifically targeting people who live in an urban area, have a certain degree of education, are comfortable and confident with technology, and have environmental concerns. So that's just a synopsis of their target market statement. So just some more details about Zipcar. So the interests and behaviors that Zipcar use when targeting their customers is very, very important when they were creating their statement. And it's a guide to companies overall to approach, it's a guide, it guides the company's overall approach to its service, sorry. So it actually helps, the target market statement helps to guide how the company sells their products and sells their services. And then when creating your own target statement, try to highlight demographic and behavior characteristics, just like Zipcar has been able to do. And obviously I'll go back there, and obviously you can see they've been able to, you know, talk about the fact that they're techno savvy, you know, that's an interest. Again, we're going back to psychographics, you know, that, you know, who worry about the environment that future generations will inherit. That's their behavior. Again, it's their interest as well. So all those psychographic elements that I spoke about earlier in the presentation really, 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 really matter. So for those of you who are interested in going into business, or who want to sort of create your target market statement, who already have organizations that maybe haven't done it, this is just sort of a simple guide to help you with your target market statement. So for example, our target market is gender. Is that male, female? Is that both? Aged, what age range? So for our target market is females, of course, for YLC, you know, age between the ages of 16 to 25, who live in London or a particular place and like to, you know, network with friends or really interested in X and X hobbies. So that's just sort of an example. But for your organization, it could be different. So I'm interested to find out if anyone wants to bravely volunteer and fill in the blanks when it comes to their organization. Is there anyone that wants to fill in those blanks when it comes to their organization? Don't be shy. We're all learning here. Can anyone think of how they will be able to create a target market statement for their current business or their proposed business? And if it's something that you can't think about now, you know, just look at that statement and see where you can fill in the blanks. So again, our target market is gender, aged X, who live in this particular place or type of place and like this activity. So I'm actually coming towards the end of this presentation. So if anyone's got any questions they want to ask me about what I've just discussed, happy to take some questions now. Okay. So just rounding up, the key to creating your target market statement is research. Research, research, research. And I spoke about that heavily in the previous slides about conducting your secondary research and your primary research, because that really, really helps you whittle down who your target audience is and how best to target them. So identify what is important about your target customer. Try and find out what their interests are, their desires are, their problems, their pain, you know, really, really try and figure out what that is and how best to solve it for your target market. And then look at their key behaviors to incorporate in your statement. Really, 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 really important. So I've now come to the end of the slides. If any of you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to take it. I'm going to go right to the beginning.
Hi guys, so thank you so much, Anna. This was really, really insightful, short and sweet, straight to the point, and I know that, and very, very practical as well. I think there's a question in the chat here. Let me just quickly read it. Is there a limit to the number of target customers you can have?
It's best to really be specific when you're identifying your customer group, because I mean, if you're it wouldn't work if it's more than one sort of customer group, because you'd be targeting, you can't target old 65 plus and then target millennials and then target single fathers. It's got to be really, really specific. And I spoke about that in one of the slides about clearly defining your target market. The more you understand your target market, the better you can understand how to reach them. And then different examples of target markets is millennials, Gen Z, single dads. So really being clear about that target audience is critical.
Okay, so what about the entrepreneur out there who has this fantastic idea that they feel like everybody can benefit from? So it is they feel like it is so broad and so general that a mass amount of group can benefit from. How can you help? What practical steps can you help that particular entrepreneur to either classify each of these customer bases, or to identify which ones they need to, which customer base they need to focus on? Because the idea of marketing sometimes is that, I think somebody said sometime that marketing is 50% garbage and 50% effective, but nobody knows which 50% it is. How can an entrepreneur be able to identify from the mass group of customer base that they think they can satisfy, the first customer base that they need to start with? What practical steps?
Yeah, I mean, again, it just always, it boils back down to research. You really, really have to do your research. And if you really want to be specific with your customer group or your target audience, you're going to have to do real deep research. And I spoke about, I've got this slide up now where I said that, different groups may actually be interested in your product or in your service, but there's a specific group that really, really buy from your product, buy from your service. So like YLC, for example, we know exactly who our core customer group is. Funnily enough, we've actually gone down a notch. So we actually target young girls in schools as well now. So where our target group originally started from the age of 16 is actually now gone right down to the age of 12. But the amazing thing about our organization is because its premise is built on personal development, the sort of older, should we say, females can actually be of mentors and of benefit to the younger girls. So it's almost like a cycle that's sort of helping itself. So I'm not saying that you can't have, different groups, but there should sort of be a generic consensus in terms of who you're identifying, who you're marketing, because that's really what's going to help you stand out from your competition, stand out from the crowd, and really target. Another thing is, again, like I said, look at your competitors. Again, if you have a mobile phone service or mobile phone provider, look at what your sort of competition are doing, who they're targeting, look at how they've been able to segment their market, and yeah, go for that group.
Awesome. That's a very good response. So I like how you mentioned how your customer base has over time evolved.
Yes.
Okay. So when can an entrepreneur know that, okay, maybe I've started with like YLC 16 to 25. When do I know how to evolve?
Yep.
To the next customer base, or even identify the next customer base? When do I know the right time to do that? Yeah.
Brilliant. Now, when we first started YLC, people did say to us, oh, you should go in schools, you should do all of that. And I was like, no, we're pretty much focused on, lifestyle, empowerment, events, program. We actually were fortunate enough to, get a contract, which sort of helped us expand our service into that market. So it wasn't something that we were necessarily looking for, but it actually was something that we needed as part of the organization. So we were just, we were looking for opportunities in that space, but the right opportunity presented itself for us. And we were fortunate enough to be selected out of thousands of organizations to actually administer that contract. So we kind of evolved our organization, through an opportunity, but not everybody will be, fortunate to have that opportunity. But nevertheless, we knew from the inception that we did want to target a lower age group. It may not have been our predominant age group that we wanted to focus on, but when we actually, had the funds and the resources administered to us to actually scale our business to reach this group, we found that it actually made a lot of sense, because for the older females who were coming to our programs and events, they could easily give back to sort of the younger girls that are coming up. So it's just a brilliant concept for us. So if you're not fortunate to have that opportunity, when you are actually doing your market research and your business plan, always think ahead. Always, when you do your PESTEL analysis, when you're looking at, the political, environmental, societal, technological, how things are changing in the world today, always be thinking further afield. And that's what's going to help you sort of stand out from your competition, and also, be a very valuable service to your core target group.
Awesome. Okay, I can see Mr. Yomi Odukoya, hand raised. Go ahead, sir.
Right. Great stuff, Hannah. Great stuff. Just a couple, you mentioned two words there that bring home your point. One, you mentioned predominant group. And the other word you used was your core group. And I think what you've done and what you have spoken about is, after some time, it might be that the business evolves by necessity. But I want to ask a question. Is it also possible that, when expansion is about to come, that it might actually be the birth of a new business?
Yes.
Say, for example, we've been talking to young ladies, and suddenly something comes up, on your horizon to actually train mentors.
Yes.
And then you find that all the mentors are aged, 45 and above.
Yes.
And they need your services to actually help them mentor young people.
Yes.
Does that not become like a different business altogether?
Well, I've been looking for a very good opportunity to actually discuss this, because I'm a living proof of this actually happened to us when we were capacity building to provide a new service. It was actually a government organization that provided us with this amazing opportunity. So for us, we knew that it was serious business. But even when it comes down to the mentors, there is an actual statistic which shows that, females of a particular age group, middle age, they are the ones that actually like to do a lot of mentoring. So that's brilliant for our organization, because that's an actual fact. And so it was very easy for us, very, very easy for us to enlist those mentors for our younger audience. But yes, if you are evolving your business, there is a tendency for it to actually change to become another business. Yes, that's actually true. But in our case, no, it was just simply an expansion. If there was any iota of us changing the business completely, I think we would have lost the core essence and value of why we actually started. But I think when you're evolving as a business, I think you still do keep to your core. I think you genuinely still keep to your core. For example, a donut seller at the, that has sort of, a market store evolving to, a bakery that's brick and mortar on a high street. They're still selling their signature donuts. But what has happened is they've evolved from market to brick and mortar high street. And funnily enough, they can still keep that element of their business, which is in the markets, which is what we've done. We're still keeping the elements of providing events and programs and services to our young females, but we've just got another part of our business that actually works really well when you look in terms of, sinking it in and giving back, and that whole concept of empowering females. I mean, it works really, really, really well. And I'm really glad that we decided to take that fantastic opportunity, and we've really been able to impact a lot of younger lives, which is what we've always set out to do in YLC.
That's really amazing, Anna. That's a very, very good response to that question. I don't know, Mr. Yomi Odukoya, do you have any follow-up to that?
No, I thought that was well answered. And the reason I asked that is I've seen a couple of people who have created a second business stream out of the need for expansion. So, and you're right. So they didn't actually leave their core business stream, but they then set up something on the side, or something that was more like a branch out of the original trunk, if you like, of the tree, and actually got a fair bit of success from the branch. And that branch only came about because there was a new target audience, or just a new opportunity, a new gap in the market that showed up. And they looked left and right, and there just wasn't anybody doing anything about that new area. So they've kind of jumped in. If it was a good fit, with your
Yeah.
current trunk of business, and they
Yeah.
kind of jumped in and had some good success. So yeah, I think that was a good answer. I just, it's something I've been before. I just wanted to throw out there.
But one of the things I want to say is that our gap in our opportunity, or our branch, so to speak, was heavily underpinned by research. They actually had a research department in terms of what we were doing. So, you know, the confidence was there that, you know, because that's also very important. I would never have ventured into something that, you know, is not heavily underpinned by research. I know that it's something that has, you know, a huge demand, and that is needed. So that's another thing that I want people to look at, because sometimes when you're expanding and it's not underpinned by research, you can actually make huge mistakes, and that could actually impact the core of what you was actually doing. So you really have to be really careful and really tread carefully in terms of what it is that you want to expand into. But yeah, absolutely. It's a real big thing in terms of markets, expanding into emerging markets. For example, your business may be in a particular location, which is the UK, and you want to expand it to the, you know, the UAE, America or Africa. Again, it's got to be underpinned by research, so you can ensure that you're managing what you have at home really well, and also the expansion. So hopefully that's really helping a lot of you on the webinar today.
Awesome, that's really good. So Anna, from your experience, especially as an entrepreneur yourself, what are the key pitfalls that you've noticed about marketing that you would advise other entrepreneurs to stay very, very clear away from? And what are the key things that you would advise an entrepreneur, whether they've started their business or they are still in the planning stage? What are the key things that you would advise for them to start doing now?
Okay, so the first question, first of all, I would say again, and I'm going to keep saying this point about research until people get tired of it. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to give you an example. When I started out with YLC, people were telling me, oh, why don't you do stuff with men? I was like, my company is called YLC. And guess what? There was amazing opportunities for me to do things with young boys or men. That's just not what we do. Then they said, oh, set up a subsidiary where it's, you know, YLC, then, you know, young men, you know, YMC or whatever. And I said, no, you know, that's not what this is about. So I'd say, first of all, you as the entrepreneur, be crystal clear, be focused, and be dedicated when it comes to your market, right? Because people may come and try and distract you and try and point you in the direction of other markets that may be growing. You have to stay focused. And the best way to do that is, you know, your research, you know, your numbers, you know, the opportunities that are presented to yourself, you've done your SWOT analysis, you've looked at the competition, you're focused. Don't listen to people telling you to, oh, branch into this and branch into that. No, stay focused on your market. If you keep feeding your tribe, your market, they will keep coming back. And be attentive to that market. Be attentive to the changes that are happening in that market. You know, the only thing that's constant in life is change. Unfortunately, phone companies or mobile providers like Nokia didn't adapt. So who came into that market? Apple, Samsung, and they took over the market share. So you have to be constantly analyzing, constantly researching, be serious about it. And I'm saying this with so much emphasis because I see entrepreneurs make this mistake all the time. They try and be jack of all trades and master of none. We deal with only young females. We're not going anywhere else. I don't care what else is there. If it's got to do with young females, if it's a younger target audience, we're happy to go there. But if it's not young females, we are not going there. And then, sorry, Tolu, your second question, if you could just say that again, because I seem to be really passionate about that first question. If you could just say the second question again.
So what are the key things? I think you've kind of answered it anyway, but what are the key things that you would advise an entrepreneur to start doing now?
Yeah, so well, when I started out, it was years ago. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that's a pro or a con, because obviously, you know, adaptation is something that we've had to do a lot of, and we have loads of plans for YLC. We're fortunate that our organization caters to young females. So, you know, online and digital tools is obviously something that our audience absolutely would love. So we're quite fortunate in the sense that they understand that, and it's easy for us to penetrate that market through digital tools. But I would say, number one, you need to adapt. You need to adapt to what's happening currently in, you know, this present world. For some people, they have to change their business model entirely. You know, their business model has to be completely changed to online and strictly using digital tools. They have to learn how to adapt. If you don't learn how to adapt, you will be extinct. And that's just facts. So learn how to adapt, learn how to be open and be flexible, but don't be so rigid in your ways as an entrepreneur. Always learn, you know, enlist mentors, enlist coaches, enlist people who are better than you. Don't think that you know everything, because I think that's one of the ways that you can, you know, you can sink quickly. When that opportunity presented itself to me, at first I was resistant because I thought, oh no, you know, this is the kind of age group that we work with. I was very reluctant. But as time went on, I opened myself up. I was fortunate to have a mentor in that industry for 20 years. So I learned a lot from him. And I felt really confident about what he was teaching me. And, you know, it's kind of helped us to where we are today. So I would say, yeah, be adaptable, be flexible, be open. And if you can, you know, enlist mentors and those who have kind of gone ahead of you and in your business as an entrepreneur.
Wow, that's really, really awesome. So I think that's it, guys. You know, be focused, know your market, stick to your market. You know, there might be other things to try to deviate you, but you need to have that tunnel vision. Be quick to learn, elicit a mentor, be agile, and also be adaptable as well. I think that those are very, very powerful points that you have given there, Anna. So Anna, before we wrap up today's session, any closing remarks at all for the audience?
Yeah, I just want to say, entrepreneurship is a journey. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Don't give up. Don't relent. Don't quit. You know, be open to change. Never take your failures personal. Failure is just another way, you know, for you to learn. Failure simply means feedback. When I started out with YLC and we did our first event, I think I only had 2 people there. Then when we kind of, you know, got more, you know, understood what our target group really wanted, you know, some of the, you know, things that they wanted to see at events and programs, we were able to sell out, you know, our events in no space of time. So if I had allowed my failures to get to me, I would have said, oh, no one's coming to our programs, let me stop. But we haven't. And, you know, we're here today. We've evolved, we've grown the business, we've expanded. So it's a testament. And I started this business with little next to nothing. Honestly, I tell you the truth. So if I can do it, you know, anyone else can do it. So believe in yourself and don't let naysayers and critics get to you. This is just years of personal experience as an entrepreneur. And if you're a female entrepreneur, you know, power to you as well. You know, there's a space for you. So yeah, keep moving, keep hustling and keep grinding.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anna. So before you go, somebody has actually asked a question saying before you go, I think it's Shifra. Shifra, I apologize if I've not pronounced your name correctly. I'm assuming it's a she, but if I'm wrong, I apologize. What advice can you give? What advice can you give to entrepreneurs that are starting a business that many are already doing, so i.e. a food business and so on? How can they stand out from a pool of competitors?
Yeah, so it's very, very simple. There's something called blue ocean thinking. So you really have to look at how you can really differentiate yourself. And that can be in very small ways. I mean, when I started out with YLC, I mean, there wasn't that many female-led organizations at the time. So it was very easy for us to, you know, use our own creativity. But as time went on, there was more entrants in the market. And, you know, and we were just looking at, you know, what others were doing, you know, how were they engaging with our market? We didn't take anything personal. You know, we looked at how we can, you know, look at some elements and how we can grow, how we can be better. So I think definitely differentiate yourself, even if it's just the smallest thing, the tiniest thing in your company can make a huge difference. For example, I know some hair salons that they offer tea and cakes when customers come and do their hair, and other hair salons don't offer that. Some even went as far as to do personalized cakes at one point, cupcakes, or and others weren't providing that. Little things like that can go a very long way when it comes to customer service. I mean, and never be afraid of competition. If you go on the high street, there's so many news agents, or there's so many hair salons, or there's so many food stores in the same place, but there's something that keeps you coming back there as a customer. You yourself look within yourself and ask yourself, well, why am I so loyal to this makeup brand? Or why am I so loyal to this barber? Why am I so loyal? There's something. So those things that you've identified in other businesses, try and implement them, within yourself, and or within your business, or within your service, and you'll be surprised. That's how customer loyalty starts. So hopefully I've answered your question.
Awesome. Shifra, do you have a follow-up? You can raise your hand and I can allow you to speak. Okay, she said amazing. Thank you. Awesome. Okay, so oh wow, you're getting a lot of good remarks here, Anna. That's amazing. That's amazing. So Anna, thank you very much. Thank you for attending.
No problem.
Next week we're going to be speaking about knowing your number. So get ready to be number crunching. Well, not necessarily, but you start thinking about some of the costs and your forecast and so on and so forth. And our able Mrs. Miriam Shunaya, she'll be coming to talk about and walk you through it as well. So looking forward to next week. I'll also be sending out Anna's details. I'm sure some of the females on here, and potentially males as well, might actually be wondering, Anna, how can you mentor me and so on and so forth.
Oh yes, so, you can go, hannahOyewole.com, or go on my Instagram at Hannah Oyewole Official. I'll put that in the chat box, guys. I'll put all my information in the chat box now. I do a lot of Instagram lives. So yeah, you can join me on Instagram at Hannah Oyewole Official. Give me some feedback about this session as well. My Instagram, I love to hear from you guys. And yeah, I put all my details in the chat box so you can kind of capture it and yeah, follow my journey from there. But thank you so much for listening.
Awesome. So I will be sending out all those information out on email as well as a follow-up to today's webinar. Yeah. Looking forward to seeing you guys next week. Thank you so much, Anna.
Thank you.
Speak soon, guys. Bye now. Stop there.